which is why you see a lot of regional brands, right? In India,
Yeah.
when you go to a channel, you see a lot of regional brands, and they may not be national brands. Maybe they appeal to a certain regional culture, which a national brand is not able to really, So therefore, even when you look at brand portfolios, maybe what you do internationally in the West versus what you need to do in India, okay, may need to be very different, because what I like in the south may not be the same what the people in the north like, and therefore I might have to have a house of brands or a house of regional brands, and yet how do I deconstruct it? Maybe there are, semiotics provides a lot of opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is, IIM Udaipur has got this consumer culture lab. Okay, I was very intrigued. What what do you do there? What are the kind of research that you do? And can you share with us some learnings around the Indian culture, the tribal culture? You talk about the how Indians really have suddenly taken interest in history based movies. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you decode, right? So therefore, what do you do in the consumer culture lab at IIM Udaipur, and talk to us about what do you explore and discover there, and talk to us about what you have learned about the digital lives of Indian consumer. Lots of things that I saw there, so talk to us about it.
Yes. Yes. So the Consumer Culture Lab, we started it in November 2020,
Mm.
almost 2 years back. So basically, I joined IIM Udaipur like in January 2020. So I was very lucky to being a new assistant professor to get a chance to set up my own lab. Like
Mhm.
it's quite rare, to get a chance in academia so early. But I think our director was really open to it, and IIM Udaipur has had what we call a startup culture. So
Mm.
it's like not like most
The
of the
traditional.
traditional schools where generally there's a level of bureaucracy or slowness, right? So here, so there is Professor Julian Kela, who is an associate professor at Nanyang Business School in Singapore.
Mm.
So Julian actually is, I mean, he's from France, but he has, I mean, many years back when he did his PhD thesis, it was on India.
Mm.
He's all from beginning fascinated with Indian culture. In fact, he's half Indian in a way. Like he's married into an Indian,
Okay.
married an Indian person, and so he lives in Singapore. So he always wanted to set up, to encourage cultural research coming from India. So there is this field called consumer culture theory in academic research,
Hmm.
where qualitative cultural research coming in the marketing space in academics it gets published. So in CCT research, right now it is completely dominated by US and Europe,
Mm.
because from decades, the academicians have been trained in those methods and they have been doing it. So
Okay.
within India, I'm talking about academic research now, not the like the commercial industry side. So in academic research within India, my own PhD journey has been that. So I was always interested in the qualitative side, but like where I did my PhD, right, I am Bangalore again. It's a quant heavy
Mm.
institute. In fact, most institutes across Asia are quant focused.
Mm.
Qualitative, you will find very niche here and there, kind. So systematically, and I think that's also because most of the academically or inclined people in India go into engineering.
Mm.
Science is preferred over arts, or
Mm.
basically it's humanities, right? Cultural
Correct,
analysis
correct, correct,
from the arts actually. So arts, we know, we grew up say thinking arts is like the used to be placed lowest in the hierarchy, right?
correct, correct.
Most of the people who end up becoming professors will come from that science, IIT and
Yeah,
engineering roots, right? So that they're really good with numbers, which is of course very important, and kind of that's where the what I was talking about growth marketing, right? That's
yeah, yeah.
booming right now. So most of the research is coming from that. If you see Indian authors publishing, but we know that the Indian context has so much rich cultural
Correct, correct.
things to study, but nobody is doing it.
Hmm.
Because, we haven't generally received enough training,
Yeah,
theoretical training, to be at par with the what it is in our counterparts in the West.
yeah.
So the lab's motive was actually to create that space, at least to start that conversation, where anybody who is interested in understanding or doing academically uh, cultural research about India, we can create that platform and get people together. So technically, in IIM Udaipur, a lot of my colleagues in the marketing area, we all are interested in this space, qualitative
Okay.
research, cultural research, along with quant also. We
Right.
are kind of mixed
Yeah.
methods people here. So it's kind of a nice community cohort that we have. So we pick up topics and then we have started working on it. And technically, IIM Udaipur's, like, our department is a quite a young department.
Hmm.
So most of us are, as in, like 3 to 6, 7 years post PhD.
Hmm.
So we don't, like, we not have like really very very senior
Okay.
faculty here. So Julian is kind of the senior faculty who is also our area advisor. So we have this concept here.
Okay.
So Julian kind of guides us on this. So we, as through the lab. So it's me and then there's Professor Rajesh Nanarpura, who is my colleague.
Hmm.
So both of us are kind of primarily involved in the cultural
Okay.
lab,
Hmm.
and Professor Julian is our advisor. So we, through the lab, basically we are focusing on doing one key academic research project per year.
Okay.
So for this year, we are working on this project which is called as the Digital Heartland of India.
Okay.
I mean, we have called it like that, and it's basically understanding uh, content creation
Hmm.
from small towns and rural India.
Okay.
So because when I was working, like I worked at Kantar for 3 years, right? So when I was working there, also I noticed that the major chunk of research that we used to do, primary research, was focused on the metros.
Exactly.
It used to be Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai,
Yeah.
sometimes Kolkata. It pretty much keep revisiting the same, and then also additionally maybe some neighboring town like Lucknow and
Correct.
Coimbatore, kind of a
Correct.
place.
Correct. Correct.
But we never did any deep dive in small tier 3 and rural, unless it was a very specific rural like agricultural product or something. Otherwise,
Correct.
mainstream understanding wasn't there much.
Exactly. Exactly.
And even academically, as in, there's not much published. Like there's
Yeah.
only one faculty Professor Rohit Varman, who was earlier at IIM Calcutta. So he has published
Okay.
few papers, but except for him there's not been any other
Okay.
from India. So so that's why we thought it's a very open space for us to explore. And for this digital heartland project, we are also collaborating with an agency called Stripe Partners,
Hmm.
uh, which is headed by Dr. Simon Roberts. Again,
Hmm.
he's again a PhD anthropologist who moved to the industry. So he had, I mean, he's quite one of the role models of in this
Hmm.
space. So they do business anthropology. So he has worked with brands like Intel and
Okay.
Facebook, Google, Spotify, and all the tech companies, right? And pretty much we felt that there is a need even among tech companies and in general to for people to understand this whole digital expansion which is happening from small towns and rural India.
Hmm.
So this project we started off with that, and then as we were progressing, we thought we'll go take a little more narrower focus so that we can go deeper. So we focused on content creators.
Hmm.
So it's not just like talk generally looking at people using the internet,
Hmm.
but people actually creating their own YouTube channels and
So,
becoming.
so what you're saying is, if I were in a small village, there could be somebody creating content. So, what are the primary drivers of that person creating content? What are the reason, and what then drives the community to then follow them, and therefore you are decoding that behavior and the need, right?
Yeah. So we are basically, this particular project is not a semiotics project, because this
Mm.
is actually it's an ethnographic project.
Okay,
Where we
okay.
are actually going and talking to people, and going to the towns and villages, and to spending up to 3 days there, understanding people's lives there,